one thing we're going to start talking about now is the lead, because whilst we've been talking, Eddie's been off trying to eat chicken poo and who knows what else in the garden. So just to get him used to being on a lead, and he's actually not liking that very much. So, Eddie, come here, Papa. Good boy. Sit. Yeah, good. Are you talking? What's with that little face? So it is important that we start getting our dogs used to collars and leads when we are training, because obviously when you're taking your dog out for a walk, they've got to be on a lead. And you know, this is a very different experience for a dog to be restricted on a lead, and sometimes when you're walking along, you know, it's flapping in their faces and it's all that sort of stuff. So all I did then is just divert him away from, he's thinking that something bad's going on. He's still got the lead on. Good boy. And it is a good safety thing to make sure that they're, you know, within your... He's got nice recall, so every time you've been calling him back, he's been coming. But he's then doing that more and more and more. We'll just put him on a lead just to keep him comfortable, and we know where he is. And puppies can get into strife very quickly. Yes. So we will talk about going for a little walk on the lead shortly, and I'll show you how we do that. Yep. So that's easy. Okay, good. So in this next video, I want to get Eddie used to being on the lead and having the lead around his neck. So the first thing I get Summer to do is just walk away, drop that lead on the floor, and let him come running after her with that lead around his neck, so he can start getting used to what that feels like. Now you can see as soon as she goes to pick up that lead, he starts to sort of protest a little bit on that, and he doesn't like to have that tension around his neck. So I get it to try and go for a little bit of a walk, but again, as you can see, he likes to just pull away on that lead and it's just not comfortable with it. So instead of getting him stressed and continuing on with pulling him towards her, what I do is just get her to drop that lead. And the next part, again, just letting him have a little bit of a run around on that with that lead around his neck. So from this point on, I pick up the lead and I'm going to start getting him used to being on that lead. So I start off and I want to have that lead quite relaxed, and then I'm just slowly encouraging him. But he goes into what we call a protest behaviour, which is putting not the brakes on and not wanting to come to me. So if I just drop down into that squat position and wait for him to come to me, I don't actually want to give him any commands. I just want him to understand there's nowhere else for him to go. I'm just tapping my leg. I'm getting him used to coming towards me. There goes the protest. I squat down and he comes straight to me again. So I give him a little bit of a pat. So just keep in mind, this is about getting him used to being on a lead and about this new sensation. The next thing we can do is actually use a little bit of a treat as a lure to get him to follow where I want him to go. So he's still got that lead on his neck, but now he's focusing on the treat more than anything else. And then there he is, comes to me quite nicely with that lead still in his neck. Get him to do a little bit of a sit, and off we go again. So again, using a little bit of a lure, and I'm giving him lots of praise, and he went to balk at that, but not continued on again. And I said, good boy, good boy. Again, walking along, here he is getting much better at having that lead, just because he's a little bit distracted about what might happen. So now I can hand the lead back over to Summer and get her to have a little practice on that. And straight away, look at that. He's looking a lot more comfortable on that lead. He's not thinking that that lead is a bad thing anymore. He goes into protest, so Summer squats down, waits for him to come to her, all good. All right, off we go again, walking along on the lead, goes into protest, she squats down and comes straight to her. Bit of praise, good boy. Trotting along beautifully now, there's not that same protest again. And every time he thinks about flipping out on that lead, she just squats down. But try not to say anything. The biggest thing is we're waiting for them to learn to come to us, not about calling them to us. Just they need to get over that feeling of having that lead on around their neck. Okay, we walk off again. Bit of praise. Good boy, keeping that engagement. Nice. And again, look how much better he's walking. Oh, now he's doing a wee. That's okay. And at that stage, you can actually give him some praise about doing the wee and saying that word, wee, 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 and that can help with your toilet training later on. The more you do that, the more he's going to think, oh, that's what I do when I say that, when you hear that word.